morning, we're going to talk about raising money. We're going to talk about it from the standpoint of an early stage company, not something that's more mature, not something that's called mezzanine, but something that's somewhere between the concept and the napkin, or maybe your first sale product, or even in your early sales of products. And just to give you a little perspective, I'm coming up on my 30th year of working with startup businesses. I'll be celebrating that. That's a term of art, celebration, in a couple of months. But the first technical paper I put together on raising capital for startup businesses was presented to the SEC by me in Washington, D.C. in 1983. I found that some people who are younger find that an impressive time frame because they weren't born yet. So it kind of puts it in that light. I have worked with startup businesses of every shape, size, flavor. I have several examples that I'll use here today to put that in perspective. I am what I call myself a parallel entrepreneur. After being through enough business failures, I feel I should fail, many companies at the same time rather than just trying to do them one at a time. And I've raised money up into the millions of dollars, and I'll be making some apologies for some of the handouts today because I've been tied up in 3 concurrent fundraising projects this week, and they've all been at the table for a long time. So a little confusion, a little angst going on there, but there's potentially $30 million going to change hands in the next couple of days, and I'm going to be very happy if that all occurs. So we're going to get into that. For background here on what you have, so you understand all the tools that are necessary for today, each of you should have received a flash drive. This contains the complete PowerPoint for today. It completes, if I can show this document correctly, it contains a workbook which is in progress. It's not done, like many good things as an entrepreneur. But because you're here today, and Deb has done a good job of collecting all your email addresses, when this book is finished, you're going to get a copy of it. So hang tight. You'll get more information than you probably want to know. And if you're really, really good, you've already raised your money, and then you won't need the book anyway. But there are several forms on here which will give you examples of the different types of documents we're going to talk about today that you use as part of your toolbox in raising money. So they're all on here. The other thing is you should all have picked up a packet of seeds. Now this is very important from a karmic metaphysical standpoint because we want to make sure we cover the entire spectrum of learning and not just do things that are out of the textbook. So with that, we're going to jump into this program. If you have any questions, feel free to step in at any time and ask the question because we may not get to it by the end of the session. And I want to make sure I answer all your questions. And as Tom says, I will answer all of your questions. This is what we're here to do. So we'll get started with the subject, seed capital. We're going to come down in, and as most of you know, this is where all money comes from. There's a bunch of these planted in Washington, D.C., and it's cherry season, time, and the money's falling from the branches. And this is where you go to get money. If you don't happen to have one of these, there was, I think, a packet of seeds for this particular tree on the table here. So if you'll wait, 20, 30 years, then you can start harvesting from that tree. But in case you didn't get one of those, then we're going to try to figure out how to get you where you want to go on finding money. Money is essential as a resource to do what you need to do unless you happen to have either cashed out from your last business, you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth, or some other great fortune has shown upon you. I believe the lotto is $150 million today if you haven't got your ticket yet. We're going to talk about all sources of money that you want to talk about in getting to where we're going to go. Now, in the handouts, there is a fictional project. Well, it's not fictional, it just hasn't happened yet, but it's called Skydance. And this is a project that I was asked to put together a number of years ago, put together all the documents related to this, and it has to do with creating a pooled investment into second homes or resort homes in different communities. And we took a totally different tack on how to do this, put the whole thing together, and the guy who asked us to do this changed his mind. So all the documents were created, but you're going to be the beneficiary of that because we have all these examples on this device, which you have here. So you hear a reference to Skydance, that's what that's going to be about. So, good morning, and the first thing we're going to talk about is the metaphor of the seed. All of you have seed packets, you've heard the term seed capital, and most of you just kind of associate that there is some common relationship between the two. And there is. But we're going to take this into a higher meaning, and after today you're not going to be able to look at a seed packet without thinking about it differently, and that'll be good. Ideas are like seeds. There are tons and tons and tons of seeds. Seeds you'll see everywhere, all the time, for all different purposes. But they are only ideas. They're not businesses yet. They represent opportunity, the potential for something to happen in the future. And so each of you now, because you have a seed packet, I can now say that you're in business to do something, okay? All you have is a seed packet. So as you go forward, this is what the seeds are. This is sunflower seeds. Some of you got other types of seed packets. We have different types and flavors here, and that's going to become important as well. But when you look at a seed packet, what's on the cover? Do you see a picture of the seeds? No. What you see is a fully grown plant in the peak of its life cycle where it is providing the most benefit because it's been carried through a growth. The seed's been planted, it's been cultivated, it's been nurtured, it's been watered, time has passed, and this is the outcome of your business. So when a seed company sells you seeds, they do not sell you something that looks like this, because people don't care about the opportunity so much, they care about the outcomes. And when you start talking to people about investing in your company, you are going to have to put yourself out in the future, a period of time, and saying, this is what my company is going to look like in the future. And this is what people are going to be investing in, is in the future outcome of a successful operation of your business. And this is going to become part of your message. This is going to be part of the story that you're going to tell today to get the money you need to get to this outcome. So, as I said, very metaphysical. Okay, why raise money? Okay, somebody in here said that they needed money because they don't have it. Okay? Now, this sounds a little strange, but why would you go to all the trouble of raising money? It is a specific activity that you have to do. It's going to require time and effort. It's going to involve a lot of potential frustration because a lot of people are going to say, no, I'm not going to give you my money. I don't like you. I don't want you. Go away. And you're going to take all this back and your karma is going to be impacted. And you're going to say, why am I doing this? And there is a reason why you do this. It's because you have a passion for successfully operating your business. You have a passion to achieve an outcome. And that passion is what's going to keep you working at this day after day as you hit the wall, as you fail on a daily basis to do everything you want to do, as you deal with all these things. If you don't have this passion, you won't complete the cycle. You will quit, you'll go find something else, you'll go back to an 8-to-5 job, whatever you think that is something that's safer, more stable. You won't become an entrepreneur because you do not care enough about what you're trying to do. Now, again, this sounds kind of Boulderish. Who's here from Boulder? Okay, we always talk about people in Boulder talking from emotion as opposed to logic. And for us who are outside of Boulder, we say that a lot. But the point is when you go to talk to an investor, about putting money into your business, they need to hear that passion. No matter how logical your plan is, no matter how much the metrics work, the milestones, everything that you've put into your story, if you cannot convey to the person that you care, that you're going to go to the nth degree to make this thing succeed in order to make it happen, make it work, there's going to be this little reservation in the back of their head, this little red flags going off going, I wonder if they're going to quit just before we get to the finish line, and I'm not going to give this person money. Because they're going to have this hesitancy, and you want to make sure that that's gone. You want them to know you care, you care, you care, and you care about the outcome. And we'll get to some of that in a moment as well. So one of the things you should do as an exercise after this class is go, why do I care? Write it out, print it out, stick it on your computer, stick it on your refrigerator, wherever you put messages to yourself. Because that's why you're doing this. And this is going to be the center point for everything you're going to do. It's going to be the center point for all your communications, and all the different documents we're going to create along the way are going to be telling the story of why you care and how you're going to achieve your outcome because you care. Now, myths of fundraising. Most everything that you've been told about raising money is just simply wrong. Okay? What you hear mostly that's in the press, in the media, or at money events that are put on by various organizations across town are told from a very narrow, limited perspective, which is of a professional investor, such as a venture capitalist, or a seasoned angel investor who is a micro venture capitalist, and they have a particular type of deal they're looking for. They have a particular set of metrics that they're going to use in order to look at your deal, and in almost every instance you're not going to qualify for their money. So if you go through the entire drill of doing all the things that they want you to do so they can determine that they're not going to invest in you, that's not going to prepare you necessarily to find the money that you're looking for your particular project. Okay, I have been on the podium more times than I can count with my PowerPoints talking to hundreds of people out there about some great new product or service that we're going to be out. In fact, we were in Vegas last year doing a medical device, and the one thing I did do well is I got the passion across, because almost half the audience came over later and says, I'm not giving you any money, but boy, I hope you succeed, okay? So I got that point across, but at the same time, we also didn't get any money. That took a little more work with some other people who basically had a different perspective on what we were doing. We went through the drill, doesn't generally work. So the first thing about doing this is that ordinarily when you say, what is it the investor want to hear, I almost invariably, somebody says, well, they want to see a great return on their investment, ROI. They want to know that they're going to put in $1 and they're going to get $1 billion back. And they're going to get it next week because you're good. But the point of the matter is that ROI is not that important. In the list of all the different things upon why they're going to make an investment, the rate of return is going to be actually down there a ways. And for a variety of different reasons. Even for the professional investor, the venture capitalist, the micro venture capitalist, the angel, they are less concerned about this because there are other things that are far, far more important on why they're going to give you money and why they're going to invest in you instead of something else. So when you start getting up and you say the first thing out of your mouth, you're going to tell somebody about why they should give you money, do not say, I'm going to make you rich. Now, here's part of the reason for that. Everybody who you're talking to already has money. Okay? So when you say, I'm going to make you rich, and they go, no, I'm already rich. That changes the mental workings of everything upstairs. For those of you who have been rich and are now not rich, you have been there, and your mind changes. And when you run out of money, it changes back. Once you have all this money, your mind starts thinking about other things. You're no longer concerned about the mortgage, putting your kids through college, retirement, and so forth. You're thinking about, what am I going to do with my money? And your mind starts getting into things that really tend to look like a social cause or a purpose or a justification for existence in life. And sometimes it's driven by guilt, sometimes it's by a great moral compass, sometimes it's by confusion. But at the end of the day, most of the people out there who have money that you want to talk to will have a reason why they want to do something with their money, and it's not to get rich because they already have enough money. In fact, my rule of thumb is if they have enough money to talk to me about putting money into a high-risk enterprise, they're also a little crazy, okay? Why would you ever take good money and put it into a high-risk proposition where you may never see it again? Okay, it's not logical. So there's some emotion involved here on what they're going to be doing, and ROI is not it. Now, if you tell a person, give me money and I'm going to burn it all, you're never going to see it again, that's not going to work either, okay? What you generally will find is if a person can get their money back, okay, worst case scenario, everything goes wrong, but they still get their initial money back, they're all quite happy with that. They don't have to make 10 times their money, 1,000 times their money, or any of that. They just are really, really satisfied. If you hold the money for 2 or 3 years, doesn't quite work out, they get their money back, you'll be okay. So don't worry about the ROI. Remove that from your vocabulary. You're going to need to know what it is. You're going to need to be able to answer questions when they come up on what do you think is going to happen here. You're going to need to know this when we get down to valuing your company, but it's not the key thing that you're going to be telling in your story. Okay, second thing, wealthy people are not geniuses. Now, I, for years, was convinced that if a person had money, they were smarter than I was. They had a purpose in life. They knew what they were doing tomorrow. Their life had a pattern, a path ahead of them, and they were just sailing down this just as smoothly as could be. And all I had to do was someday make enough money in one of my projects and I'd be just as brilliant as they are. The fact of the matter is that a lot of people have money and they're just like you, except they have money. And more importantly, when you say, what do you want to invest in? What's your criteria? Where are you going to go? Why are you making this decision to make money? Almost invariably, they have a very poor or no answer at all. Okay, so we have a transaction. You need money, they have money to give, but there is no connection here at this point in time, because in a bargain, you're saying, I'm going to do this for you, and you're going to give money for me. They don't know why they're talking to you a lot of the time. They don't know how to talk to you. They don't know how to tell you what price to pay, for your company. They don't know any of these things. They may be as ignorant as you could possibly imagine about the process, the reasons, the motivation, the pricing, all the things that go into making a deal. And you have to supply that. You have to make up that difference. You have to educate them on what they are doing and why they're doing it, how they're doing it. You cannot depend upon them to be an equal partner in this transaction. You have to assume they know nothing and be prepared to deal with that. If you don't, you're going to have some of these strange conversations where you go, well, what do you think? Well, I don't know. Should we get together for lunch for the 33rd time? Yeah, let's have lunch. Let's go to lunch together. And you go through a conversation. Are you ready to invest yet? No. Okay, why not? If you get really, you hate to ask these questions because, wow, they got money. I don't want to offend them. And you're going, so why not? After 30 years, you ask the hard questions up front. Do you have money? Is it in your pocket? Can you write a check today? Do you love me? Will you give me this check? And if they don't give you the right answer, then you either have to start educating them right then, or you say, they don't qualify, I need to go talk to somebody else. Because you can be in an infinite number of lunches talking to people about raising money. See, here's Albert Einstein. One of my favorite jokes about Albert Einstein was that he had told this speech about laws of physics so many times that his chauffeur claimed that he could tell the story as good as he could. So at the next stopping point, they put the chauffeur up, because nobody knew what Albert looked like back then, and the chauffeur got up, gave the entire speech, word for word. just like Albert did. And sure enough, at the end of things, he says, any questions? And somebody back in the room starts saying, what does E mean, you know? And the chauffeur looks at this guy and says, that question is so pathetic. I'm going to have my chauffeur over here answer this for me. Okay? All money is not the same. This is also something that's very important. I mean, the tendency is when you go out looking for money, you say, do you have money? And you assume that that person is a candidate to give me money. It's not true. The money all looks the same that they may give you, but every person is different. And because every person is different, their reasons for investing are different. Their place in life, the time where they're at, their cycle, the money flow, any of these number of things makes them a very unique investor. You have to assume that everybody is unique, and you have to understand why they're unique and what their characteristics are so that you can do a better job of figuring out whether you should even be talking to this person or whether you're wasting your time. One of the biggest problems you have in raising money is wasting time. The whole process of raising money is actually a tangent to your path. If you want to go out and raise sunflowers, what is raising money doing to make that happen? You're not tilling the soil, you're not watering the plant, you're not out there doing that. You're out in some coffee shop trying to convince somebody to give you money. You know, it could be hailing out there, or you know, something else could be happening to your crop in the field because you are taking time and energy away from your primary focus, your passion, to go out and do something you probably hate, which is trying to convince somebody to give you money. So it's a major distraction, and the bigger the distraction, the higher the risk. So the more time you're out trying to raise money, the higher probability is your business is going to fail. So one of the things you want to do as quickly as possible when you're talking to potential investors is qualify them hard and quickly. Are they going to give me money or not? Is there any legitimate probability you're going to get money out of this person? If not, move on. Because the rest of it is just building interesting relationships. And if you do the math, I typically will assume that 1 in 200 people who have money I talk to without any other qualification might be interested in a particular project I'm working on. And since I tend to work on 10 or 12 projects at a time, I actually have a better odds of getting some interest back. But if you're working on one thing at a time, 1 in 200 people may be interested, okay? If you take that person to lunch, that's 200 lunches to find out whether they're interested or not. If you don't ask them in the first meeting, do you care for these reasons, give me money, do you have money today, you're going to take them to lunch twice. That's 400 lunches. Okay, if they're really interested, you have to kind of get them educated and get them up to speed and so forth. That's 3 to 4 to 5 lunches. If you get to the 5th lunch and they go, no, I don't have any money, you've just burnt through all that time. And 1,000 lunches is a lot of money and a lot of time, and you don't have it. I don't care how much you have in your capital budget to do this, it just is not enough money and time to do that. It's a distraction to your business. So don't worry about offending somebody when you're trying to raise money. Very quickly try to qualify them, and we'll get into some of that a little bit more in a moment. See, this is the way everybody treats people with money. They're all the same. They all look alike. It's not true. Everybody is different. Everybody has a different reason, and you have to figure out as quickly as possible if they care about you or not. Very important key here. And that is that when you go out to raise money, your business is like a product. Now, each of you has a product or service that you want to sell when your business is up in operation. And when you complete a product or sale, that customer is going to derive a benefit from your product or service. Okay? That's your existence in a microcosm. When we talk about the success of your business, we're going to be talking about it in a larger perspective, because the investor should not be relating to a single transaction. You want them talking about the entire aggregate of your business, and we'll go through this in some detail, because again, as you start communicating with potential investors about who you are, you have to draw the big picture. It has to be drawn accurately, it has to be drawn according to certain guidelines, but it still has to be big enough to represent this larger opportunity, which will have characteristics which are greater than a single transaction. And this is where I see a lot of people having trouble, because they go out there and they go, what do you do? And they say, well, I grow sunflowers. Okay, and do you want a sunflower? Now, but think about this, okay, with this packet, me being me, this represents about 40 kinds of businesses. Okay, I could be in the packaging business, paper to wrap around the seed. I could be a reseller. I buy this at wholesale, mark it up, sell it in retail. I may actually grow this. I may grow it for a laboratory purpose. I could go on through this whole laundry list, and people go, oh yeah, those are all different kinds of businesses. And yet the investor out there isn't going to be interested in those 40 variations of sunflowers. They want to know about this particular thing I'm going to do. But more importantly, unless they're just a customer, they're just going to buy a single flower. So what we're going to be talking about is how you package your business for presentation as though the business is successful. And here you are at the business retail store, okay? I come in, I want to buy a business, I'm an investor. Well, here you are, you're going to be selling your business as a business. You're not selling the product, you're not selling the service, you're selling a business. It's an opportunity. It's a whole series of things, and that's what you're going to do. You're looking at your business as it's going to be, not today, but as it is 3 to 5 years down the road. And that's pretty much the window for people in investment. When they're saying that they're going to give you money, they want their money back. I said, you know, they're happy if they get just their money back, and that's true, but they want their money back. If it's not going to get their money back in 3 to 5 years, then you're a charity, and they don't expect their money back, and that's a different story. Now, I've raised money for charities, and I've gone out and gone through that drill. But if they're going to give you money within 3 to 5 years, they expect you're going to be successful enough that money should be coming back to them. Okay, so they want to be looking at your business in terms of what's the likelihood I'm going to get my money back from doing this particular thing? Am I going to be happy with this? What's this going to look like? So when you frame your business, what a lot of you often will do is you talk about today. Well, this is what I'm doing today. You guys start talking about what you're going to be doing 3 to 5 years from now and work your way backwards from there. You got to work your way backwards from the outcome, from where you want to be, because that's the true opportunity. That's the plant all grown up. That's not the seed that's in the envelope. Okay, one of my favorite ways of explaining this, and why I'm going to continue to pound on this theme throughout today, is I want you to think about how you're going to communicate what you're doing to someone who doesn't know you, may not understand the business, and half the technologies I work with didn't exist 5 years ago or 5 days ago. And now you're taking somebody who doesn't know you, doesn't know your technology, doesn't understand what you're doing, may not understand your market. And several of you are dealing with things in the internet today that I can guarantee you didn't exist as opportunities 5 years ago. And yet now you can make money off that? Okay, now I'll go introduce you a bunch of guys who still think that the internet is a communist conspiracy, and they think that, you know, you all should be looking out for this kind of stuff. So when you say, I'm going to come in, we're going to make money off the internet, they're going, I don't get it. And they don't, and they won't invest. Wrong person. Don't talk to those kind of people. You need to be talking to people who understand the business flow of information, how it creates benefits for different people, be able to communicate that succinctly as an enterprise. Think of a brick. When you do a single transaction, when you sell a product or service one time, it's a brick. And when you start trying to tell people about your business, you're going to do a two-step presentation. You're going to first explain, here's what happens when I do something one time. I'm going to make something that's made out of a combination of clay and silica. We're going to heat it to a certain temperature, and we're going to hold it in that until we get to a certain degree of hardness, which makes it a good, interesting construction material. And you explain that to someone, and those who don't understand what you're doing in the technology go, okay, I understand what you're going to do one time. Okay, this is the building block of your company. This is a single transaction. A lot of times you try to explain what your business is by explaining this outcome 3 to 5 years down the road, and everybody's eyes glaze over and they go, either I don't understand what you just said or I don't believe you can do it, because it sounds almost outrageous, beyond comprehension, beyond belief. If you talk about one component, baby steps, building blocks of what you do first, describe how you do it one time, you can typically get it within the range of somebody's ability to understand it well enough that they can go, yes, I believe that can be done. I believe you can do it. I understand resources are required in order to make that happen. Now I have a setting, a foundation which to talk to them about. Same thing with a flower seed, okay? If I'm going to grow one flower, how hard is it to explain that, to conceptualize it? We're going to take a seed, we're going to put it in a pot, we're going to water it, we're going to fertilize it, and when we're done, plant pops up, and if I don't kill it before too long, a flower will emerge, and I will have succeeded one time in what I'm going to do. Now, again, from a storytelling standpoint, this is good to be able to explain. Now, once you've explained it one time, then you jump to the end of the story and you say, this is what the story is going to look like. This is why my business is here, because I told you I was going to build a brick. Now I'm going to build lots of bricks and I get a different outcome. Okay. This entire wall in China, which there's 4 varieties, and this one I think is some 2,400 miles long or something like that, is made out of bricks. Handmade. It wasn't carved out of stone. These were all poured bricks, one at a time. Some of them hauled as many as 50 miles to get them to a point of putting them in the wall. Now, if I told you when I came up to you as a potential investor that I'm going to build the Great Wall of China, and I've seen that look before in people's faces. They're going, no, you're not. You can't do that. And they're lost immediately. Where if I go back to them and says, I'm gonna create a brick factory, and we're going to stack these bricks after I'm done. Here's how I make a brick. They're going, okay, I'm following this. I don't tell them that it's 500 million bricks initially, but what I'm telling them is we're going to do a lot of this, and this creates an outcome. Same thing with the flower seeds. We had one flower seed. We have a lot of flower seeds. This is actually a sunflower farm in Missouri, back close to where I grew up. And this is what a sunflower farm looks like. And out of this seed, you get a plant, and every plant creates all kinds of seeds. And from those seeds, we can either sell more seeds or we can create snack foods. Again, we're going into the 40 different varieties of different things I'm going to do. You're going to need to tell this story. But when you start explaining your story to a particular investor, start with a small single transaction so that you can build upon that to the outcome, which is 3 to 5 years down the road, so they can follow along and the believability stays there. Because doing something one time is easy, explainable, many times gets a little bit harder. Okay, now that we've worked hard on talking about who you are, what your business is, how you're going to explain your business, now we have to figure out who's going to match up with this story that we've just gone through. Because if I'm going to plant flower seeds for sunflowers, not everybody's going to care. I need to find that person who cares about what I'm trying to do. So here's another example. All of you got flower seeds, right? Or got seed packets, right? Okay. How many got green bean packages? Okay. Zucchini squash, morning glories, sunflowers. Okay. Who got the watermelon seed package? Okay. We're not done yet. We haven't negotiated this transaction. But all the rest of you have businesses. They're all perfectly fine. I mean, you all can make money raising the seeds that I gave you. You can use them to create an outcome. I don't care. And that's not a bad thing. It's just a matching thing. I'll come back to you in a moment because we haven't negotiated. But anyway, see, that's as close as any you're going to get to money this morning. But the point is, as an investor, looking for, even though I don't know what they are, I may be confused, I don't know how to make an investment deal, but I'm looking for something that matches up with me. So when you're trying to sell yourself, you have to kind of put yourself in the shoes of the investor, and you ask yourself, what do they care about? I care about watermelons. I like to eat them in the middle of summer. I like to inject them with vodka and do other things to them. I think it's a wonderful fruit. It has multiple uses. And therefore, that's what I care about. And it isn't though any of the rest of you have done anything wrong, but if you came to talk to me about your business, you're wasting your time. And again, you don't have that time. You've got to get through this very quickly. So what I want you to do is I want you to start thinking about what would my investor look like? And I want you to do this at 2 levels. I want you to do the broad spectrum look, which is everybody who might possibly invest in my deal, which is a small fraction of all the universe of potential investors, and then an even smaller focus on that, which is who would be the best, the optimum potential investor that I could get into my deal. Now by that, what I mean is the person can give you money, but what else does your business need in order to succeed? Do you need marketing media? Do you need infrastructure? Do you need manufacturing facilities? Do you need a distribution channel? All the things in your business plan which you do not yet have, wouldn't it be nice if all they came packaged together in a single package? So you got one investor and everything else at the same time. So you're going to be going back and forth in this in your mind. You're saying, what are you going to do? What's this person going to look like? Now, if you go through this drill, almost invariably, Oprah is going to show up on your list. Okay? She has money. She has a national TV program. She has a magazine. She knows everybody in the industry. They sell all kinds of products through her multiple industry conglomerate. And if she gave you money, that isn't the only thing she's going to be doing for you. She's going to help you succeed in trying to make this business. And so if you're going to spend the time and energy to get an investor, start with Oprah. Okay? Now, there's some issues in getting Oprah to invest in you, and that doesn't mean she won't. But there's other things you need to do to get there. We'll get to those in a moment. But think about this now. Out of all the people who have money, who initially they all look alike because they're wealthy. Now we're going to go through this process of who am I, what am I going to do, who matches up with me, and then of all the people who match up with me, who are the best of that group. And you're going to create a profile. You've seen this guy. When you walk out on the street and you say, this is what my investor looks like, it becomes very easy for you to distinguish this person from everybody else because you've done that heart of a profile. And so if you sit there and you say, what's this person look like to me that I need to invest in me, you should be able to get to the point you can walk into a cocktail party and go, it's not Janice. Janice isn't going to invest in me. I'll go over and say hello to Janice, but I will not spend a lot of time with Janice today because I'm hunting for money. And I'm looking across the room, I'm going, let's see, he's in the construction. No, he was in that business. He's an intellectual property attorney and he's working with people doing this kind of stuff. That sounds like it may match up with me because I've done this profile. I should be carrying, in effect, a little sketch of what this person looks like and why they invest, what they look like, and so forth. So when you walk into this room, you immediately can cut out these kinds of people. Or in the first couple minutes of a conversation, what I sometimes will do, I'll go, hi, what do you do? You what? Okay. Well, that's pretty good. What'd you do this weekend? Oh, I went fishing, went hunting. I was down at the soup kitchen helping with a charity. Oh, really? Okay. What was your last business? Or what did you do? And in 2 or 3 questions, I'm quickly filtering through all these potential people and I'm going, nah, it's not an invest for me. Move on. So you want to do an analysis. You think, if my business succeeds, if I build the Great Wall of China, who's going to care? The Chinese cared because it kept the Huns outside the gates. Okay, if I raise a sunflower farm in the middle of Missouri, who's going to care? Well, the county is going to care. The fertilizer guy who sold me the fertilizer, the farm equipment dealer, Massey Ferguson, John Deere, they're going to care because I'm a potential customer of theirs. The person who packages these things up and sells them as a snack, that you find in the local retail store, they're going to care because they're in the industry. They're either downstream or upstream from me. Okay, if I sell gazillions of packages, what difference does it make? Well, maybe it makes a difference to the U.S. government because I have a home-based business here and I'm actually exporting, creating a small offset to all the money we send over to China or to the Middle East. So the government cares. So I may be able to get a government USDA loan to help me with my sunflower farm because I'm doing something they care about. Okay? But I have to know who I am and what I'm succeeding and what the outcome of that is before I can profile who I'm looking for. All people with money are different. You have to determine who you match up with. Here's an example. These are 3 investor candidates. Now, the first guy on the right, very wealthy. However, he just put his last money in a Madoff investment firm. And today, he cannot write me a check no matter how much he loves me, which is why when we have this little conversation, he goes, man, I love what you're doing. I want to help you. I go, do you have any money today? I don't. That is not a third meeting question. It's a first meeting question. Have any money today? No. And as soon as I get it out of this real estate deal, which is, okay, never mind. Okay, you have no money today. Thank you. I'll keep your name. I'll get back to you. If I have not raised my money by the time I think you're going to sell that real estate, I'll come back to this person. But today they're not doing me any good. Qualify them out. The guy in the middle, farmer, okay, price farmer of carrots. Is he going to invest in what I want to do today? If I'm in a brick factory, probably not. Maybe, maybe not. He understands bricks, understands walls. If I'm doing sunflowers, he may like me because he's in farming, he understands farming, and maybe he thinks this is a crop he could expand into or somehow he's going to get some benefit out of this. So I'm very quickly trying to figure out, does this person match up with me? The guy on the right just got his lotto ticket punched a couple weeks ago. He's in the Bahamas. I can't even get a hold of him. And as I say, people think differently when they get rich. One of my favorite stories was we had a guy who we were convinced would write a check at our next meeting. Okay, 11:30, Cool River, in the tech center. Okay, 9 o'clock. Carl, this is Jack. Yeah, Jack, how you doing? Looking forward to seeing you in a couple hours. Looking very forward to seeing Jack in a couple hours. He says, hey, guess what? I'm going down to Mexico. Why? What happened? Oh, Jimmy, my buddy's got this little Learjet of his, and he's going to go down to Mexico. He asked me if I wanted to go along, so I'm going. What about us, Jack? Oh, we'll do that when we get back. Okay. When you getting back? Oh, golly, I don't know. Hold on. Hey, Jimmy, when are we coming back? Okay, this is going over the phone. He didn't even know when he's coming back. His mind is totally different because he has the money. He doesn't have to give me the money to succeed, to do what he wants to do. And so he's thinking differently. This guy, he's not thinking about investing at the moment. He's got all the money he could potentially want and more, but he's not thinking about it. So again, back to the cycle. Who are you talking to? Why do they care? Do they care today? Are they going to do something for you today? Very, very important. You're looking for a perfect match. Somebody who cares so much about you that you are the solution to their problem. Okay, now, if the person doesn't know what their problem is, you can see why this gets a little harder. But usually somebody will have some reason out there. Now, if I had a miracle cure for cancer, I know 40 people I could go to today and get a check by this afternoon because they care about a cure for cancer. Either they have it, a member of their family has it, some of their best friend or associate has it. They care, and they have the money, and they are willing to do something about it today. If I'm doing something a little more esoteric, such as, what are you doing again? Yes?
Yeah, pardon me?
What are you doing? What's your business?
Mobilegate.net, it's video hosting.
Video hosting?
Yeah.
Okay. So, who cares about video hosting? Who's a customer?
Bands, fans.
Okay. Who cares about a whole lot of video hosting? Say you're the video hoster for the entire music marketplace. Who would care at that point in time?
Who would care? Like MTV and
Okay.
companies like that?
They might, because here's somebody who has a direct line to all the bands, a level of influence that might be even greater than some of their managers, and whether they do or do not do something. And so if I'm running MTV and I need a special, or I want to put something together, I'm thinking, wow, where do I go to get a band? Well, I could try to contact the manager, or I may be in a hurry. I'll call you, okay? Now, I think what you're doing is interesting at this point because it helps me do what I do, but it isn't really a killer need. I don't need you so absolutely I couldn't ignore you if I felt compelled to do that. So what can you do to make yourself indispensable to somebody?
Well, we also produce our own videos as well, so
Okay.
hand in hand with the bands as well. So it's kind of a twofold.
But most bands are broke like most entrepreneurs.
That's why we're producing videos for them for free.
Okay.
Put them up, and it's just to generate value.
But now you see the difference between the brick and the wall. Because if I'm going to go out and raise money, every one of these bands should be talking to you because you're giving them a free video. They need you, but they don't have any money. So now if you're wildly successful, who will need you who has money? That's what we're looking for here. Every one of you should be able, to come up with a profile of somebody who really, really needs you. And if you can't come up with somebody who really, really needs you, you're going to have a longer time raising money. Because it becomes nice, it becomes interesting, it becomes cocktail party talk. Wow, look at the deal I did today. You wouldn't believe what a strange, thing it is. And I mean, a lot of these parties, ones that I go to where I get invited, because I keep telling people I have money when I don't, is I slide in there and go, hey, isn't this good? Did you hear about my last investment? And soon everybody in the room is sharing, stories with me. Yeah, I invested in this, thing over here and whatever, and they're all telling the story because it's interesting. It gives them something to talk about, okay? They may not be passionate enough about it, though, that they're going to make that same investment again, or they're going to give you that second round of money because they don't care enough. You really need to get into this perfect match. The perfect match will be like a key in a lock. It will open the opportunity up, but there's a perfect precision between the key and the tumblers in the lock, which is matching together, and that's what you're looking for. You have to know who that person is. You want to know what the key looks like, what it's got to be able to do. And at the same time, strategically, you want to find the perfect person who's got all these other attributes that are going to bring to your business, so you accelerate your business forward, and you may be able to catch up on all the time you spent raising money because suddenly all these other things you need just kind of fall into your lap. Target your investors. When you create all your communications, there is a tendency to have one-size-fits-all type of communications. You may find out that there's 2 or 3 different types of investors who would be interested in who you are, who have money. You want to be prepared to talk to each of them for the reason why they're going to invest. So you kind of create a 90% generic document, and then you have 10% of tailoring to make this thing fit somebody who matches up very well, who is the kind of person you're going to talk to. And we're going to get a little bit later, we're going to talk about telling your story and the kind of documents you're going to use to tell your story. But in essence, you're going to target your investor. You're going to say, I'm going to write a document, I'm going to create an elevator pitch that's going to go to the heart of why this person invests, that's going to immediately qualify them, immediately get them on board, immediately get them excited, so that they're thinking about, I like this person and I'm going to give them money. Okay? Then we come to our first break. Am I on time? 10 minutes. Okay, we'll go backwards. No, we're going to skip forward. Sources of capital. Okay, there's a variety of places to get money, and most of us are thinking about an investor in the classical sense. Somebody puts money in, they get a return on their investment back. However, the best investment money you can get, or the best money you can get, is actually from your customer through earnings. Okay, some of you said you're already selling products. That's a great thing for a whole bunch of reasons. One is that you don't have to pay back any return on investment. 2, you've proven that there is acceptance in the marketplace for your product or service. If you do need to talk to an investor because you need more money than you're making off of your customers, you don't have enough margin to totally bootstrap yourself up, having that first sale is ever so important to you in your ability to tell your story. Because the day you get your first dollar, the one you can frame, put on your wall, or because it's a PayPal transaction, you print it out, print that on the wall, you've separated yourself. Oops. You weren't here when I gave the warning, so there'll be no penalty. But anyway, the day you get that first dollar, you've separated yourself from everybody else who has not received any earnings yet. And it's a big distinction. And it isn't that apparent until you're on the other side of this equation and you're going like, I'm trying to raise money, we have customers. The day before you say, I'm trying to raise money, we hope to have customers. That gap, which doesn't seem that big, is huge to an investor. Particularly when you have something new that's never been done before, because they don't know that you're going to be able to get there. Unless you happen to be talking to an expert in that industry, in that particular thing that you're trying to do, there's always this, I don't know, will that work? Can they do that? Will somebody buy this? Will they pay that price for it? All these questions that are spinning around the back of their mind. You cross that little chasm by having your first customer, and suddenly they're going, oh, okay, I have a brick. Okay, before I had a blueprint for a brick, now I have a brick. Now I'm going to stack bricks. Okay, the wall becomes possible at that point in time. So when you're trying to do what you do, even though you're trying to raise money, if you do not have a customer yet, get one. Okay, if you say, well, but I haven't raised a sunflower yet, I don't have a pot with a plant growing out of it, sell them seeds. Sell them futures in seeds. Sell them something, okay, so that you have customers who are coming to you and you can say, I actually have cash flow. Because in the scheme of things, it is a night and day difference to an investor. Things are possible at that point. And I've been there where somebody says, okay, I'd like to invest in you, but I don't know. Call me back when you have your first sale. If you don't have the first sale, you're going to be up against it. It's really hard because at that point, you are looking like an idea, not like a business. And there are a gazillion ideas. I see a couple hundred a week, and they don't get money because they don't look or sound like a business. They sound like an idea. With a customer in hand, you are definitely a business. You may not be successful, you may not thrive, you may not do all the things you want to do, but you're on your way. Try to get that money first. Now, in certain cases, you can fund everything you want to do out of customers. If you can get an order that is from somebody who's a credible buyer, you can factor, that is, finance that contract to somebody who says, I'll pay you 80 cents on the dollar for every dollar you're going to make on that contract. And even though that sounds expensive, that you're giving up 20% or 20 cents on the dollar to someone, to do that first transaction. One is once the transaction is finished, you have a customer. Two, you didn't give up any of the potential profits of your company down the road. You still could potentially own 100% of your company. So it seems expensive in terms of getting 5% on your CD down at the bank, or 2% or whatever they're paying these days. But money from a customer is worth a lot more than money from an investor, if at all possible. But right now we're talking about customers. Okay, this case, little girl, she sells the lemonade, she has money in the bank. Hopefully the cost of the lemonade was cheap compared to the price she's selling for. That means she has a profit. This is a brick. One transaction, one sale, but because of that, one, there's more money left over at the end of the day, and two, there is a story to be told, which has greater credibility than not having a customer. Angels. This is the most likely source of money. Now, an angel has various definitions. I know more names for money than I care to think about, kind of like Eskimos in snow. I am with money. I'll talk about early money, late money, mezzanine money. We can go through all that stuff. Just ignore all that. An angel is the most likely source. This is a wealthy individual, has more money than they know what to do with. And for whatever reason, whatever you're doing aligns with their personal goal. In fact, if you're doing your job correctly in the communication, when you present your business plan, it looks like it was written for this person to become part of their support network to achieve their personal outcome. Okay? The guy says, hey, I want to help those little kids that are starving in downtown Denver. Does your plan accomplish that result? Okay, because that's what that person cares about. And there are ways we'll talk about on how you can make that happen. And if you do it correctly, the person is no longer coming to you saying, I don't know if I'm going to give you money or not. They need you because you're going to make their objective come true. And once you become a tool, a bridge for them achieving what they want to achieve, they need you. And the whole psychology of this investment transaction is going to change on you. So you have to be prepared to take whatever it is you're doing when it's totally successful and be able to orient that towards the personal goal of that investor. Okay. Anyway, what we're going to do at this point before we jump into angels, because there are several different flavors, sizes, methods, motivations, and so forth for angels, we're going to take a break. So we're going to be gone 10 minutes, be back here at 10 o'clock.